Honorable Castle Atoban Forson, congratulations.
Thank you very
being
much.
Nominated as Minister Designate for Finance. I've got a few questions. The first one, can you tell us how you are going to fund the government machinery, given that now there is no appetite for lenders to give money on long term, and the money market segment is already crowded, as you initially alluded to. So how are you going to fund government machinery? Lenders are not ready to give long term. The money market end is already crowded. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, in the short term, we need to, Mr. Chairman, in the short term, we need to bring confidence back. It's as important as anything. My proposal is for us to immediately introduce a very strong budget, signaling that we are ready to do the heavy liftings. That first budget will indeed send the right signal that Ghana is ready to open our doors for investors to come into the country. I believe if we are to introduce strong measures, particularly from the expenditure side, we will be able to bring inflation down to 8% plus or minus 2. In doing so, we'll be able to reopen the domestic bond market so that we can move away from the over-reliance of the treasury bill market. And so we'll be able to, at a minimum, smoothing the harms that has been created as a result of the domestic debt exchange and the Eurobond. And so we need to bring confidence back. But you know, if you are confronted with a situation where you do not have financing, then there's the need for you to look within. Let's deal with expenditure. Let's cut expenditure. Let us not pretend that there's money out there for us. Just like it has been done in somewhere, we can also do it here. My proposal is, let's look at the expenditure side as well. It shouldn't always be borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. It's time for us to cut the waste, and so I will lead the process to cut the waste. And I will need you, honorable members, to help me cut the waste so that we live and stay within the envelope that we can. But when push comes to shove, obviously, we will work with our development partners, such as the Africa Development Bank, the World Bank, the European Union, and other bilateral agencies, including the IMF, to raise cheaper sources of financing to finance government expenditure, particularly where expenditures that can lead to a proper growth and inclusive growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Thank you, Minister Designate. My second question, you've already given a hint on it, which relates to tax exemptions. Particularly, what I want to hear from you, or what I would expect you to tell this committee, is that the Exemptions Act of 2022, Act 1083, allows the states to take equity stake in entities that apply for tax exemptions. This has never been applied, though the Act allows it. Can you tell this committee that under your regime, you'll be bold enough to apply these aspects of the Act, the entities that come for tax exemptions, you'll be ready to go in for equity stake for this country? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's now great. We've done one, I think last year. Honorable Abina will bear me witness. Honorable Kweku Kouaten championed it. In fact, I seconded the motion for us to set the tone and allow to implement the Tax Exemption Act, particularly the portion that allows government of Ghana to take equity stake. So we've done once, and as a champion against tax exemptions, and someone who insists that tax exemption must also count, you can count on me that I will do whatever it takes, that when push comes to shove, that we have to grant tax exemption. The country must benefit. You can count on me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So everyone has heard, and we'll be watching. My third question. You know, it is commonly known that we generate really nothing much from the informal sector when it comes to taxes. And if you look at the mid-year budget of 2024, if you look at page 107, you realize that tax from PAYE, if you look at the revised budget, it's about 21.113 billion cedis. Whereas taxes from self-employed for the same period, just about 1.572 billion cedis. So this is a ratio of 13 to 1. So the formal sector, PAYE, revenue from those taxes, is 13 times what we get from all the self-employed. So the gap is so big. What would you do practically to close this gap? A gap of 13 to 1. What would you do practically?
Remember, this is a very valid question and very interesting one. I think there's a genuine concern. First, we need to formalize the informal sector. Second, we need to encourage them to formally register with the Revenue Authority. And third, we need to incentivize them. We can learn from Uganda. Uganda has been able to incentivize the informal sector. And as such, they are collecting more taxes from the informal sector than most of sub-Saharan African countries. The question is, what have they done? What Uganda did was to agree through tax education that a percentage of whatever you pay will be used as your pension contribution, even as the informal sector. And so my proposal is, why can't we encourage, or through taxes education, encourage the informal sector by instituting an informal sector pension scheme where you will plow back, let's say 30%. It doesn't mean quote me for 30%. Let's say 30% of whatever you pay as your contribution from your income tax, as your contribution to your ready as when approved as minister to work with all of you to see what we can do to allow the informal sector also to contribute their widow's mite towards the development of our dear country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will then move to the majority side to take questions from the leaders of the Finance Committee. Starting from Honorable Sika Dongo.
Thank you very much, Chairman. First, I want to congratulate my honorable colleague, with whom I have worked closely over the years, but also to thank His Excellency for the privilege to bring a thoroughbred finance person from this house, who was involved in oversight for 6 years and practiced in government for another 4 years. When I was invited, I asked myself, what questions are there to ask Honorable Forson? Because we have always been on this side preparing solutions, and I have been in meetings where you and I have led conversations on the way forward to save our country.
Honorable Azika,
all I can say here is
the
that
commentary and go straight to the question.
I believe that my colleagues are better placed because I know your quality and what you bring on board. So I have nothing to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Adongo. It's not the turn of Richard Achampong.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Leader, congratulations. I've worked with you since 2013 to date, so I know what you stand for. So, Mr. Chairman, I have only one question for you. Mr. Nominee, how do you plan to address the country's fiscal challenges and ensure debt sustainability? Thank you very much.
Honorable Nominee, your answer.
Mr. Chairman, Ghana's debt management in the past few years has been a major cause of concern. It is sad to know that the country has gone through a very difficult debt exchange, domestic. It's also sad to note that we had to restructure our Euro bonds. In order not to repeat the past mistakes, we intend to establish an independent debt management office. But in the meantime, we have a major harm that we have to deal with. For example, on the 18th of February, about 6.8 billion Ghana cedis will be due for payment. It is our responsibility to make sure we pay. And the Ministry of Finance, I believe, at this time are preparing to make that payment. My responsibility is to make sure what has happened in the past does not repeat. And so I will do just that. I will work with the Ministry of Finance. I will work with our development partners. And we'll do whatever it takes to avoid a second wave of the crisis we faced in 2022. That I can assure you.
Thank you very much. Any further question? In the absence of any further question, it's now the turn of Honorable Agnes Namomo Latte.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity to ask the nominee. I will begin by congratulating the Honorable Leader for this high office being nominated to. I would want to find out from the Honorable nominee his general vision for revenue mobilization. We've heard bits and pieces, and it's exciting to hear more what your vision is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may proceed to answer the question.
Thank you very much. I worked under Honorable Setepe for 4 years, an astute tax practitioner. I learned under him. He used to meet the revenue authorities once every fortnight. As a result, we saw our revenue improving. What I can assure you is that learning from an Honorable Set and seeing the way our revenue increased in the shortest possible time, I'll go by the same approach. But aside that, I would dedicate considerable amount of my time towards revenue mobilization. Ministers of Finance often have not paid enough attention to revenue mobilization. I think we should not allow GRA alone to mobilize the revenue. The Ministers of Finance will have a role to play, and I'll play such a role. As I said, I will dedicate considerable amount of my attention towards revenue mobilization and to help improve the revenue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question.
I only want to wish the nominee very well.
Thank you. All members, now the turn of Honorable to pose a question to the nominee. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. I see you are smiling because I've been in your shoes before. And less than a year ago, I was sitting here and you were sitting there firing questions at me. But I want to use this opportunity to congratulate you. I think you have worked very hard. You put us on our toes when we were in government. And I hope to do the same constructively moving forward. So I wish you well. Just one or two questions, and that will be it, because you are now moving there. You've been there before. You were there as a deputy minister. You are now going as the finance minister yourself. And I know that a lot of decisions will rest or come from you. I remember that in 2023, during the budget, you mentioned the fact that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama would inherit a very difficult economy. This is in the Parliamentary Hansard, November 21st, 2023. That's the page 35. But at the end of 2024, and during the transition, we shared some economic data with you. You agree with me that we exceeded revenue. Same GRE exceeded revenue by, I think, 400 million to, it was 178 billion or so. They exceeded by 400 million Ghana cedis. The economy grew from 2.9% in 2023 to first half of the year to 5.8% in 2024. We managed to tame inflation down to 23.2% from 23.8% in December. The banking sector assets have also improved from 274 billion in 2023 to about 376 billion in 2024, October. The private sector credits increased by 28.8% from a negative of 7.5% in the same period last year. The primary balance has improved from a deficit to a surplus, and we live in a reserve of 7.7 billion, representing 3.5 months of import cover compared to the 2.7 months of import cover of about 5.9 billion in 2023. And you also talked about the debt restructuring. And in there, we also told you how far we have gotten with that. We have done over 90% of that. We are left with just the private sector, the private bits, and we will be done. So, my dear friend, we've known each other way back in our university days, so I can call him a friend. And so, my dear friend, with this data that you have been presented with, how would you describe the 2024 economy that you have inherited?
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Nominee, over to you.
Mr. Chairman, it's early days yet to make a pronouncement on the 2024 outturns. As we speak, there's no outturn for 2024, because whatever you have is preliminary and cannot be said that is outturn. I say this because the transition numbers she's presenting, we did a transition between 9th to about 21st of December. It doesn't give you end year numbers. Mr. Chairman, I heard her talk about revenue, but revenue alone will not give you a picture of the fiscal deficit. You will need to correspond it with expenditure. I'm also aware that between 30th to 31st, we saw the controller paying out about 18 billion cedis. So 18 billion cedis as against the 400 that you gained. There's a deficit. And so let's wait for end year numbers. I don't want to speculate. I will wait for end year numbers, and then I'll present so, if approved, to Parliament. Mr. Chairman, I want to learn from the former president, Sika. I will wait till then before I make those statements. And when the time comes, I will present the true picture of the economy. I don't want to speculate at this point. Let's wait for our turns, and the budget will be read maybe next month, so that we don't use this podium to create speculation. And to add to what the first said, whatever we say here today, whatever we do here today has implication, and it's very sensitive to the market, and so let's be careful not to speculate. I don't want to be pushed to speculate. So
Honorable Nominee, you know the rules. What is the meaning of Sika dede?
Mr. Chairman, the former president spoke in French and Cree. I don't understand. I'll wait for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes,
Mr.
you may
Chairman.
proceed with your next question.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm glad my friend has confirmed this, because in November 2023, the numbers we presented were also provisional and yet he was able to make a declaration on it. And so in November 23, all that he said were speculation based on what he just told us, that he will not speculate, he rather wait for the outturn. But in November 23, the numbers based on which he made that statement were also provisional.
Honorable former minister, is that your next question?
Can I land, Your Excellency? And so, I mean, that's by way of just letting him know that today he's saying that he will wait and not speculate. But in November 2023, these were the same provisional numbers that we gave out, and yet he was able to make a declaration of the true states of the budget. Thank you, my brother. Okay, I move to my second question. And my second question is about resetting Ghana. That's you, yes. Resetting Ghana, and you are in the highest chair to push this agenda. There's a saying that once you first fix your macroeconomy, all other things will fall through. But in your own manifesto, you're saying that you want to shift from over-concentration on the macroeconomy and then prioritize microeconomy. Looking at the current macroeconomic situation, can you say, as you suggested, that it is going to remain the same, that we have fixed the macro such that you can start, you can start quickly with your macroeconomy agenda that you gave out in your manifesto? I just want you to share with us what you think you will do to hit the ground running, as you said in your manifesto, moving away from the macroeconomy because you think we have fixed that for you, and then you want to ride on the back of that to continue with your macroeconomy, as you stated in the manifesto.
Thank you very much. You
The
may
macro
proceed
is
to answer.
fixed. Mr. Chairman, I want to leave this with us. Ghana is not out of the woods yet. In fact, we are still in the woods. And there's a lot more work we have to do, as long as the macro is concerned. But it's important for us to understand that you don't only grow the economy from the macro. You grow the economy also from the micro. You don't necessarily create jobs only from the macro. You create jobs from the micro. You don't stabilize the city only from the micro. You stabilize the city also from the micro. Mr. Chairman, it is obvious that in the last many years, Ghana has overly concentrated on the macroeconomy. I think we need to get back to basics. If you want to fix the city and you fail to deal with the structural challenges you face as a country, you will firefight. In the end, it will be short-term. We need to deal with it. Yes, you can use the macro to deal with the short-term challenges. But what about the micro? Now your oil revenue is dwindling by 30%, for 37%. And you want cities. You have hydrocarbon asset sitting, becoming stranded. What are you doing at the micro side to make sure you can pump in the revenue, bring the oil out, and then get enough revenue to support the economy? What are you doing? You have a cocoa industry that is collapsing, moving from 968,000 metric tons per annum to less than 500,000. What are you doing? These are micro issues that we have to deal with. And I believe that ministers of finance should not only be at the ministry just to pay people. That is only a function of the Ministry of Finance. But ministers of finance must and will have to also pay attention to the economic development mandate of the ministry. So I can assure you, what we said in our manifesto, we stand by it. We will have to do something different. And when approved, with your help, I would dedicate once again a considerable amount of my attention towards the development of the microeconomy, the rest sectors of our economy, to help create jobs and stabilize our currency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before your next question, Honorable Boa has a follow-up question. You are done.